Okay, so the third speaker today is my brother. Calling my brother self feels like, oh boy, you don't get respect to. But he is indeed my brother. He's somebody who has made himself a brother. He's a pastor and he's a key influencer. He's an influence to many young people all around the world. At the moment, he's not in the country because he's gone to make money somewhere in the US. But I appreciate his presence here. He's in a different time zone entirely, but he's still here today. He's passionate about men. I remember that I put up a post about 4 years ago on Facebook about my passion for boys. I don't understand what's going on with boys. And the motivation behind that was really the issue of classroom. In my classroom, I realized that girls seem to be doing a lot better than the boys, and the boys seem to be slacking. So which is another thing that I featured in the book. He inspired that chapter in the book. He bossed me immediately after that post and he said, you know what, we need to do something together about boys, because that's honestly a key area for him as well. And so one of the things I decided to do was to write about boys. And I put that in a chapter in the book. So once you grab the book, be ready. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Pastor Noel Abdullahi.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Leke, for this opportunity again to be able to talk about boys. And I'm really delighted to be part of this book launch. I've flipped through the book all through my flight. I went through each of those pages and they were quite inspiring. I consider the book, it has made life so easy for me, who has been a youth pastor for over 20 years, because the book covers, it has so much weight, and it has enough depth to inspire you to dig more. And I think that's what makes this book unique and classic, so that everything is covered. That's why I say it has a lot of weight. And then it gives you enough depth to, like a springboard for you to dig deeper. And so it's the kind of book that you read that will make you want to do a research. So I flipped through all the different pages. There's a lot of green flags, and I think one of my fathers told me that parenting is something of a lifetime. You do not graduate from parenting. And over the years, I think what he says is making sense, because I have raised people now who are married, and I still discover that from time to time I'm still being called upon. So thank you, Leke, for taking a stab at this very, very great subject. And particularly, like Leke mentioned, the issue about boys has been a flag, and the experience he gave is something that has been consistent across a lot of people that are dealing with young people. I have a friend who is also a vice principal, and he's observing the same trend, and I think it's a dangerous trend. And over a few days ago, I read an article, and the title of that article was The African Male Child, an Endangered Species. And this was based on a research that was done somewhere in Kenya. And they observed that they had more boys, being able to pull through from primary school to secondary school. It was a research, so they were tracked. And they had a number of boys, they had a number of girls, and they discovered that the number of girls that were able to pull through from primary to secondary school was much less than the girls. And I think it's something of concern to us at this point in time. And when you go back in time, you will discover that there were a lot of structures that were naturally in place to ensure that the boy child is responsible, but in the process of time, some of those structures have disappeared. Because take, for instance, before the industrial age, the young man follows his father to farm, the young woman stays at home and learns from the mother, and even from that young age, she starts helping the mother to take care of the younger ones. That sense of responsibility just flows naturally. And as the young man goes to farm with the father and farms, and he plants a seed, you know that there's a time to water the seed. There's a season for the crop. He has to wait for the crop to mature. All those things begin to develop critical aspects of him that actually makes him a man. And it was you naturally just grow into becoming a man. So as a man, you have to provide, and as a man, you have to protect. And if you recall in history, the way they lived, it's survival of the fittest. So every man was a soldier. And as a soldier, you are already trained to be able to lay your life down so that others can live. And I think those are some of the things that is missing right now because of the way the modern culture has evolved. And it therefore means that the traditional approach whereby we raise boys and say, oh, okay, boys are to play football, girls are to play 10-10, those things will not work now. I recall particularly in one of the chapters, Leke mentioned, the fact that we say, oh, girls are in the kitchen, then the boys, they are not supposed to be in the kitchen. They're not supposed to be in the kitchen chairs. They're just supposed to be chillaxing and enjoying themselves and all that. And he was actually advocating that both whatever it is the girls can do, the boys should be able to do it. And whatever it is the girls can do, the boys should be able to do it. And I think considering the times we live in, these are things that we really, really need to consider. So that's where we are coming from, and that is where we are today. And we must all be ready to make that adjustment. How can we help the boy child? There was a few months ago, I asked one of the boys who works with me, please let me know once my time is up so that I wrap up. There was a young man who was working with me, and I wanted us to go to the streets and get the boys, and reach out to the boys, and he came and gave me a report. He said, there are no boys on the streets. I said, what do you mean there are no boys on the streets? He said, all the boys are busy in their houses playing video games, and the ones who are not playing video games, they are busy they are busy doing Yahoo Yahoo. And so we don't have boys in the streets anymore. And if you recall, one of the chapters, Leke talked about how some of us grew. We grew in the streets, and growing up in the streets made us to be street smart. And these are the real things that the young man needs to be able to survive in the jungle of life. You learned how to be able to fail and get up again and try again. You learned how to overcome being bullied. You have to devise means for survival when people are trying to beat you. You have to navigate. Maybe on your way back home, you had offended somebody in the school. Those were things that made us to become men. And now, when we have a generation where the young boys who are the men of tomorrow are no longer in the streets to be street smart, then I'm really, really bothered. And so what we have currently is we have a lot of young men growing up thinking that life is a video game. Life is not a video game. And those who are not playing video games just think that by defrauding people and making money and spending it as you like is what life is. No, these are things that must be changed and things that must be addressed. There's one of the boys now who has been caught by the FBI and has been, saying a lot. But these are very dangerous trends which must, be checked. And one of the things I am really, really proposing is because when you talk of manhood is more of a personal effort. It's not so much of something that can be put in you. You have to make the effort, and I'm strongly recommending like the kind of things that Leke is doing. We need to create platforms where we can groom men. On the final note, my pastor said something. He said, "You have the bridegroom and the groom." He said it is the groom that actually grooms the bride. So imagine when the groom himself has not been groomed. So we need to groom our young men through personal development platforms and other things that can help them develop that sense of responsibility. Because I think that's one of the things that is lacking. A lot of them have taken a holiday of life and they are just waiting for things to happen. What makes you a man is the ability to carry responsibility. These are the kind of values we need to pass across to the next generation so that what is happening in the West will not happen here, where you have a lot of people, a lot of the men going to prison and you just have single mothers raising children. And the results are not very good. The results are not very good. So please, attention should actually be given to the man child. And this is one of the cries that Leke is saying in this book. And as many people who want to join us in this, I think it's important you buy the book. And Leke, I think we need to get to work on this immediately. So thank you all for having me. And I wish everyone a happy weekend. Thank you.